Welcome to the Board Game BBQ podcast. This is episode 267, proudly brought to you by Advent Games. I'm Dana Banana and I'm going to be your host for today. So there's no telling what's going to happen in this episode. I'll probably be relegated to the background after this. Today I've got here with me, I've got Conor from Outback Victoria. Conor, how are you?
Outback Victoria. I don't know if it's the Outback. You've been drinking the Kool-Aid with Mitch too much. I'm not that far from civilization. I'm not on like acres and acres of land, herding cattle everywhere.
He wishes he was in the Outback. It'd be closer.
Whenever I see photos of you, it's out in the middle of nowhere.
It's near the beach. It's like 250 metres from a shop.
The only one they have. The only shop they have.
And if you hadn't guessed, our other guest is Mitch from Sydney.
Hello.
Yeah, we say guest because he might not be on the show very much longer if I have my way.
If I play my cards right.
Yeah, get him out. I feel like it's funny. I feel like I've only just seen you guys, which I kind of have with South by Southwest. So it was
I've
good.
been depressed. I've actually been suffering from we normally call it PHD, post-holiday depression.
Right.
But maybe it should be PCD, post-con depression or post-something depression. I was on the plane back, I was so depressed and I came home and I said hello to the family and I just went straight to bed, not really because I was tired, but I was just so depressed.
So you didn't even tell them all that you found us more interesting than them?
That would have been
I didn't mention that. I said I missed you all so much. I didn't know, but it was. I wonder if it's just for me personally. Anyway, I've got a family, and I've mentioned before I'm a stay-at-home mum, but I didn't have to cook anything, and I had this big king-size bed to myself and just playing games all day, didn't even look at the credit card balance. It was
dangerous.
Yeah, it was great. So it was like a holiday for me.
Do you know what I was jealous of? So I left Sydney or Fortress about 2.5 hours before Dana and Adrian, and you were like, I'm home, and I was still 2 hours from my house. It pinged up on my watch, and Adrian was like, I'm home. You had to fly to Brisbane, and you were still home before I got home. But yeah, that was...
That's what you get for living in the Outback.
The Outback. I'm going to refer to it as the Outback now. I'm from the Outback.
Now, South by Southwest, whilst leaving was depressing, it also created some kind of super spreader COVID event because you guys are all bed sharing.
Well, I was going to say, the last time I was out of this room, I was with you all at South by Southwest. I've pretty much been cooped up ever since with the lurgy. So it's probably a good opportunity to shout out to Stu. Thanks for bringing that along to the festival. We asked you to bring.
And the thing is, he's so tall. Yeah. If he just coughs, it just spreads over everybody.
It's like crop dusting.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, it's like rooftop sprinkler. Yeah. We only tease because it's fun. I mean, look, people get sick of these things all the time. So, but it was fun, and I really enjoyed it. And I've actually got a lot of the stuff I'm talking about today is from the last weekend. So, yeah.
Well, why don't you just show us what you... Well,
show us what you got.
Edit that bit out.
Show me what you got.
Sorry, write the time down. Pause. Conor, why don't you tell us about the games that you played at South by Southwest?
All right, that sounds pretty good. So the first one I wanted to talk about is one I was very, very excited to play. It is actually made by our former host, Mitch, and that's Sarah. And that is Sarah's game, Corrupcity. So I finally got to play Corrupcity with Sarah and our Patreon mate, Ben. I can say that without any form of bias, it is really, really, really fun. Dan, I know you kind of half watched a little bit of a game on the Sunday.
Yes, I did. And I was meant to actually play, but it ended up being that the time frame was not going to work with the live podcast that we had. So I'll try and do it on TTS if I can.
I have two good bits of news for you then. Is number one, the game has been signed by someone. So the game is being made. So Sarah's name gets to be on a box, which is pretty exciting for her. And if anyone wants any players of it, just reach out to Sarah and she'll organise that. So she's still going through some play testing. It's not final, but it's pretty much there. So you know when you write an essay, you're like, oh, just a couple of things I've got to tweak. So that's the stage she's at. But it's a mean game, and it's meant to be mean. You're meant to be blocking each other. It's called Corrupt City, all that type of stuff. So she really wants you to. It's really, really like interactive. Look, I just it was really, really fun. I really enjoyed it. I know how hard Sarah has been working on it. And I said for a long, long time, I didn't want to play it on TTS because I despise TTS so much. But playing it in person was really, really cool. The whole upgrading of cards is right in my wheelhouse. So I'm really excited to see how that finally sort of works out. Yeah, that was Corrupt City by Sarah. And like I said, it has been signed. So it's going to be on the shelves at some point, which is pretty exciting. And if you want to play the game, just reach out to her on our Discord or reach her through her tabletop source. I got to play another game with you, Dana, and that was Cosmoctopus. What did you think of Cosmoctopus?
Loved it.
Yeah.
I was crap, but I loved it.
No, you say you were crap.
Rubbish.
What happened? We ended up on the same score.
Yeah, that's right. I thought that you were sort of working your way up to some big move, and then the game ended.
I totally was. But yeah, like Cosmoctopus, I'll just speak about this, and then I guess I'll let you guys sort of have a say in something. It's a pretty simple engine builder. Hey, like it's not overly complex. You start quite small, and I played this with Dana, Meg, and Nathan, who we met on the night when we played Tombs and a Boom. So that was pretty cool. But it's a pretty simple engine builder. It's by Henry Audubon. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But what you're effectively doing is you're moving Cosmoctopus, which is this really cute sort of baby Cthulhu thing that you're moving around, and you're trying to get your 8 tentacles. And once you hit 8 tentacles, you win the game. And you take one action in your turn, which is to move Cosmoctopus, and then you can play one of 4 types of cards. And the 4 types of cards are Constellations, which is when you place resources on a card and then get tentacles. Hallucinations, which are one-off powers. Relics, which give you bonuses to resource collection. And then Dana's favourite, the Scriptures, which give you resource reduction.
Yeah, that worked real well.
Yeah, so the other thing, Dana, you if you wanted to play cards, it would have been very cheap.
Yes, yeah. That was the idea. But unfortunately, by the time I got the cards I needed, the game ended.
Yeah. Nathan, who was like 2 tentacles behind, I think, ended up winning. So Meg had 1 to get, Nathan had 2, and you effectively got 2 in a turn. So that was really cool. But then I guess like you and me, Dana, were sitting there and going, oh, so the game's done. And like we just have 4 tentacles.
Did you lose, Conor?
Surprise. I drew.
What a surprise.
I don't think that was a problem with the game. I think it's just that we were hopeless.
Oh, yeah. No, please, I'm sure.
That is what I was getting at.
When we first started this, Mitch, and it's like Connor's like the loser. I was like, no, I'm not a loser. And then I realized there's no point fighting it, right? Like, I clearly have a chromosome missing that lets me win games, and I just gotta deal with that.
Well, I'm in the same boat. The only reason I can make so much fun of you is because whenever we play, it's you and me jockeying you out for last place. So,
you know who me and you are? It's like everyone else has got their got their steam engine going, like they're shoveling the coal in, and we're on the hand cart. It's like whoever's going to win over the hand cart. Yeah.
Did you play anything else outside of those 2?
I did. I also played a really neat game called Spots. Have either of you 2 played Spots?
No, I've played
haven't,
Spots.
but I watched it.
Oh, yeah. Those dogs are so beautiful.
Yeah. I knew you would like it, Dana.
I just love it.
The dogs. So Spots is a dice placement game where it's a bit of a push your luck game where you're rolling the die, and then placing it, hoping you get the right die to go on as spots on dogs. And different cards will have different numbers of spots. But the thing is that kind of like, any push your luck game, you can bust. So if you haven't locked the cards away, which takes an action, you then risk the chance of all of your dice going. If in your kennel, your buried dice go over a score of 7. And you can't just get rid of dice. The only way you can get rid of them is by placing them. You can draw extra dogs by an action, but you also need to make sure that you are placing those die when you can. So we actually ended up running out of dice because both Kim and Jules were trying the strategy of, I'm going to get all, because you win by getting 7 dogs, so flipping the cards so you've got 7 dogs. I'm going to try and get them all in one go. And Kim nearly did it. It came down to me and Kim on the last turn. And if he had got the number he needed, I can't remember, he would have won. But then I only had to get 1 die. So Mitch, I won. I actually won a game.
Oh, really?
I can't believe it.
I know. No. And do you know what else? Do you remember?
Kim first, because I'm not sure if I believe you.
check with Kim. He's an honest fellow. Just as a side, we also won Veiled Fate. You and me won Veiled Fate.
We did.
So it's like
That's
two
games.
Yeah. I'm so proud of myself.
Yep.
So yeah, with spots,
I'm riding your coattails.
That's it. You can jump on and jump on and hang on to the cape. So with what you're doing is you're eventually flipping over the dogs and then and scoring them. And again, it's the first one to a certain number of dogs. It's 7. But there's these little actions that you can take. So some of them are re-rolling the dice in your kennel or that are buried. There might be taking a dog. There could be rolling 1 die and then you can roll another one again and then again and again. So it's again pushing your luck. But it's really, really a really cute, simple push your luck game that is a ton of fun. You can play it with just about anyone as long as they can count to 6. So Mitch, you just qualify. But aside from that, there's a cool variant where there's heaps of different powers that you can play with or actions. What happens is once you use a power from that stack, it goes and you cannot use it again. So then it's done for the game. So it might be really, really hard for you to get that sort of strategy going because you don't know what's coming up yet. So that's Spots. It is made by Alex Haig, John Perry, and Justin Vickers. So have a look for that. I think it came out early this year or late last year. But like Dana said, the dogs are so good.
It's very cute. Very cute. Yeah. That almost gets like a vote for me just because it's cute. Yeah,
and the art's kind of the Harry McCleary style art, sort of like scruffy dogs and whatever. Yeah, it's lots of fun and silly too. People burst or bust and they're like, okay, I'll try and win again. Or you can be a bit more conservative if you want, but it's a bit slower. So,
what about you, Mitch?
Well, along the lines of those sort of silly, simple, fun games, another game we played at South by Southwest was introduced to me by Jace, and that was Chicken. I think everyone had a go at Chicken at one time or another throughout the weekend because it's super simple to set up. It's super simple to teach. It's effectively just a very small. It's actually one of those doily boards, isn't it? It's made of material, so you can almost take it anywhere, and a bunch of dice, and that's it. And then it's a push luck mechanic where you're rolling dice, and the faces are a combination of chickens, which are good. Chickens will score you points. Foxes, which are bad. If you get 3 foxes, you bust and you get nothing. You turn ends. Eggs, which are effectively going to hatch more chickens. And what they do when you roll an egg is you get the opportunity to add a new dice in. So there's a bit of a dice pool in the center, and the new dice that you add have different probabilities in terms of what they're going to come off them. So like the orange dice, some of the sides are doubled, so you get 2 chickens or 2 foxes, which makes the stakes a bit higher. And then there was some yellow dice, I think, that were just the same as the standard ones. And as you go around, every egg you get, you then need to add more dice into what you're rolling. And you're obviously trying to roll as many chickens as you can and not as many foxes. If you get 3 foxes, you're out. And when you bust, it resets back to the base dice. So all those dice you've added through eggs have to go back into the center, and you pass just the normal dice on to the next person. But if you don't bust and you choose at one point to stop rolling and to take whatever points of the chickens that you have at that point in time, all the dice go to the next person. So it's this kind of snowballing effect. They're starting with a whole lot more dice, which means they've got a whole lot more chance of getting more chicken, so they might score a bigger point. But at the same time, they've also got an increased chance of getting 3 foxes straight away and then their turn just being over. That's essentially the whole game. And you go around and you take your turns doing that. There's basically a race to the end. And I think the first person that gets to 25 points or something like that is the winner. But for something, it doesn't sound amazing. It doesn't sound like this, a crazy, intricate, deep strategy game. And guess what? It isn't.
I thought any game with a T-tail as the mat had to be highly strategic. It
looks like a face washer.
It does look like a face washer.
Flannel.
A flannel, that's it, yeah.
But the beauty of this game isn't its deep strategy. The beauty of this game is that you can pop it out anywhere and have a real quick game that's lots of fun, have a laugh. I kept bagging Jules because every time he got to choose a new die with his eggs, he was choosing the yellow ones, which is the coward's way out. That's why the yellow signifies the coward. He's yellow. And I refused to take yellow dice. I was just red dice all the way. Got to go hard or go home, right? Yeah, so it's just heaps of fun. It's so simple but so fun. So if you want looking for something, and you could play that anywhere. I think someone asked us on our.
There was a photo on the Facebook community at one point. Someone was playing it on the beach. And I wouldn't think of anyone playing any games on the beach, but they took chicken to the beach.
They might have grabbed it thinking it was their towel. Yeah. But you could. And someone asked the other day about going to, I think it was Intensive Claire in our Discord, was asking about, she was travelling up to Gold Coast and she was looking for games to play in airports or on planes and things like that. This one fits that exactly. Providing you're not going to go nuts and roll your dice down the aisle or anything.
Have you played games on the plane with dice before, other games with dice? Because I have, and I get nasty looks.
Because of the noises?
Because of the dice. Yeah, people get irritated by the dice rolling.
I'm sorry. Absolutely cane me in the comments. If you get on a plane and you don't have a set of headphones in this day and age, that is your problem. I'm sorry. I am coming hard on this. I buy sets of headphones in case I fly. That's literally the only reason I have headphones, in case I fly. So I'm sorry. Dana, you're getting dirty looks for some clickety-clank of dice. Nah, I'm not having it. If you give Dana dirty looks on the plane, shame on you. Shame on you.
It's a screaming child next to me and I'm getting dirty looks because of the dice.
Look, that's fine. That's kind of where I was coming from, but I didn't want to put that out there. I understand babies have to travel too. I'm saying get yourself some headphones if you don't like the sound of dice.
If you don't like I would say in general, right? If you're the type of person who's sensitive to sounds, plug your ears.
We're going to get absolutely
take responsibility for your own issues, right?
Clearly, we've got no sympathy for people.
I am the least sympathetic person to talk to about this.
Yeah. No, I couldn't care less about people with dice. I would worry. I would take a dice tray so that I wouldn't roll them off the table or whatever else like that and lose them.
That'd be different. If you're rolling it and it's spilling over to the person next to you, then I'm hang on, pull your head in.
Imagine that, grabbing dice out of people's laps.
I was just going to say that's crossing a boundary, I think.
What was it before I grab it out? What was it?
Yeah.
Was it a 6?
No, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Play it as it lies. But I would think if you did have a dice tray, most of them are lined with something soft anyway. So would deaden some of that clankety clack sound.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about playing Twilight Inscription on the plane, but I would have to take up the seat next to me, my seat, and the other seat. So it kind of made it a bit hard.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah. But
anything else in your schedule?
Look, I've played some other bits and pieces. I did have a Kickstarter arrive this week, which was Bantam West, which is a Western sandbox adventure game. I've been waiting on for a while. I got to be honest. There's been a little bit of a point of contentions with the game trace that came with the game. They're an add-on that you could choose if you wanted to, and they're not ideal. Let's put it that way. They don't do exactly what they were made to do. I think that the designers hoped for them to be much better than they are. That said, they have promised to do I think they're doing some more campaigns next year, and they're going to do a 1-for-1 swap they're going to redesign them and replace them for everybody. So that's good.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I mean, it's all you can ask for, right? New designers and people that haven't published games before, if they make mistakes, as long as they're willing to own up to them and provide solutions, then you can't get too upset about that. Everybody's human. But it did actually put me off playing the game for a little while because I was just, I didn't want to unpack it and repack it, because it was going to be a bit frustrating. But given that I've been locked inside a room for the last 7 days and haven't been able to go out, eventually I was like, I've got nothing else to do. I'm going to give this a crack. So I had my first playthrough of Bantam West yesterday. Played two-handed solo. I think it has potential. So I played the first. Let's start this off as a topic. Maybe we have a little bit of chat about, because I played the first mission. So there's a few different missions in the game, and as you get through the different missions, they get harder and they introduce some more things and stuff to the game as you go along. But the first one is essentially just a tutorial, and they say, make sure you start with this tutorial, this primary mission, because that'll get you settled in and it'll get you familiar with the mechanics and whatever. Now, that's great, and I understand exactly why they do that. But after my first play of that tutorial mission, I was kind of like, that was a bit bland.
Yeah.
I felt like it feels like it's stripped down. It feels like there's more game there that's been stripped out of it. So although it was fun, had a good time, and we ticked off all the objectives and had my time riding around, hunting animals and building like log cabins in the woods and going to town to buy new weapons and upgrade my horses and all the stuff you would expect to do in a open world sandbox Western game. It just was a little bit, Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's similar to Revive as well. People have sort of said it's got this like pre-campaign where it's meant to introduce new things each time, and then eventually you'll have this base game that you can just play after that.
Yeah.
I think I played the first 3, and by that stage I thought, I really don't need it. I'm just going to open everything and just add it to the game. It was a bit...
That's what Harry did. So the copy I played was Harry's. And we're kind of going, he goes, there's a campaign. And I was like, hang on. He's like, no, don't get excited. He said, it's not very good. Again, I'm putting words into someone else's mouth here. It's interesting though, Mitch. So sandbox game, right? So it's a sandbox game. I'm thinking that what some board games try and do with sandbox games is to make it as similar to a video game as possible. And you've played as many video games as I have, and you know that what they do is they slowly unveil things as you go. But that's because you are in control of the character in its entirety, right? You're having to do multiple things at once: move, jump, shoot, cast spells, whatever you're doing. But in a board game, that's different. You have time. You don't have to make those decisions then and there. You have time to be able to think it through. So while a stripped-down approach might be good for introductory missions in video games, you might not have to do that for a board game. Yeah. If they're giving you all the options you have in the intro mission, it's up to you whether you want to use them or not. They're not forcing you to use them. It's going, you can use this, but you can complete this mission by simply killing the enemy. You don't have to arrest them. You don't have to round up the cattle, all that type of stuff.
I can totally see where the designers are coming from. Like if you bought this game off the shelf, prior to buying it, you'd sort of tapped out at Ticket to Ride, a bit of pandemic and that sort of stuff, then you probably would struggle a little bit. And I think it would benefit you to go through that sort of first game and just sort of get your feet wet and sort of understand how it all goes on. But when I finished the first game, I then sort of said, I don't feel like playing the next game right now. I've just spent, 2 hours playing that game. But I grabbed the quest book and I went to the next mission and I was like, well, show me what else is in the other one, and had a sort of a bit of a read through. And I didn't see anything there that, as someone who's gamed a bit, I think I probably could have just jumped straight into that. So I just wonder if sometimes it might be wise or an option for designers to say in the rule books, if you are a novice or if maybe you're new to gaming or you'd like to take it slowly, then start here. But if if you play a lot of games and you're quite familiar with normal gaming mechanics and things like that, then start here instead.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And I know sometimes when there's second iterations of game engines or a new version of a game that a publishing company has already made, they will say, if you have played Ticket to Ride before, you might want to jump into this version. Or if you have played Imperial settlers, you'll be familiar with this, and maybe try these factions and so on and so forth. But it might be a bit harder if it is, and I don't know who's made Bantam West or whatever, but if it's their first game, then they've got no reference point for that. Like, what do you say to someone? I totally get where you're coming from, because video games, again, do it all the time. Are you in it for adventure? Are you in it for story? Are you in it for a gameplay challenge? That's kind of like the easy, because they really stray away from easy, medium, and hard now. It's giving it names that, adventurer or battle hardened or things like that.
Yeah. Well, whilst we're talking about it, we'll talk about the game a little bit, because I think, as I said, I think the game has some potential in terms of being that sort of open world adventure Western game. So ultimately, you're controlling a character, got a whole lot of different abilities, you're traveling around the map. There's skill checks that you need to do to overcome certain obstacles and things. You can go and collect resources. Some of the objectives of at least the first game is to like build yourself a cabin and things like that. So it does have a kind of little bit of that sort of RPG video gamey kind of vibe to it. But I will tell you, it was one of the things that I thought was hilarious. And I actually messaged Jules when I came to that part in the rulebook, and I was like, "Oh man, Jules would love this game." So you can build your cabin in the woods outside of town, so that when you're on one of the other maps, which are not in town, you can use it for shelter, so that you're not out in the weather, and you can use it to store resources and all that sort of things. It comes locked, so when you build a cabin, it's locked, and you're the only person that can use it. That doesn't mean people can't unlock it or break into it. So if you leave your cabin and go back to town or whatever, it's totally okay for another player to come along and pick the lock on your cabin, to go into your cabin and steal all your resources and set fire to your cabin and burn it to the ground.
This sounds like when people invade other people's games in Minecraft and blow everything up.
I was like, man, Jules will dig. I don't think I ever play it with him, because if he burnt my cabin down, I think I would have to kill him. But in real life. But not only that, if someone doesn't have a cabin and you still want to mess with them anyway, we'll just set fire to the forest, and then they can't harvest wood to build cabins.
I kind of like that. I think that sounds kind of cool.
It is cool, and I mean, it fits with the theme, right?
Yeah, that's
you're
great.
all supposed to be outlaws, or I mean, you don't have to play like that if you don't want to. But if you're playing a character that's like robbing banks and stealing other people's goods, and there's in town they've got general store owners and vendors and tradesmen and that sort of stuff, and you can banks, and you can do all the stuff you would expect you can normally do in a Western town. You're not limited to going in and saying, "Oh, here's my money. I'd like to buy that weapin." You can go in and rob them.
Yeah, cool.
Rob the store. You can try and breach the vault of the bank and take their money. It gives you that option. It's that open to be able to do sort of whatever you want and play the game however you want to play it. So that was kind of pretty cool for that sort of game. But for those of us out there that don't like conflict and probably wouldn't be down with that, you can actually choose to say, we're not going to play PvP. We're only going to play PvE. There is enough game there in just playing against the environment, against the NPC bad guys, animals and things like that you'll come across, that you don't have to play where you're attacking each other. You can play
cool. That's good.
Yeah, so I think that's good. It gives everybody an option, people that don't like that conflict, people that wouldn't want to play with Jules, to be able to play it. Yeah, so I got to get it to the table some more. I got to play the other missions and stuff. And there's actually a pure solo campaign version as well. Cool. Which it actually really reminds me of Red Dead Redemption, because you're not obviously not competing against other people for the victory, but you're actually trying to hunt legendary animals.
Oh, nice. That's really cool.
Yeah, so that sounds like lots of fun. So really looking forward to that. So I'll check it out. Yeah, if you like open world westerns, sandboxy type games, and check out Bantam West.
I saw you put a picture up, and I looked at the picture on BGG of the player boards, and I was like, oh man, yeah. I just want to play with them. Like, let me move cubes and equip my characters and all that stuff. I was like, oh yeah, give it to me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Has the mechanics and how things play out are fairly simple. I mean, most things are resolved by a single dice roll of a D6. So yeah, it's great in that sense. There's what else was I going to mention to you guys about? I can't remember now. Just lost it. But it has that, progression sort of thing, like an RPG where you're upgrading your character and your abilities, and the longer you play and the more experience you get, the more easier it is to achieve certain tasks and be successful at certain skills and take people out. And the fighting mechanic is kind of cool too, because you have an attack deck, a powers deck. You just shuffle up, you draw 4 cards, and then it's essentially like a kind of like rock, paper, scissors. You can play a card, and certain cards will negate certain types of other cards. So if you can guess what type of card your opponent is going to play, then you can effectively take their attack away that round. So it's this kind of psychology thinking, will they attack first? Will they defend first? Will they play this card or that card? And, of course, throughout buying equipment and more weapons and things like that, it's almost deck buildery in that you can improve your attack deck and your fighting deck as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got some cool mechanics. None of them are too hard. If you're into that sort of theme, then
it sounds really interesting to me, because I have got Western Legends, which I've played, and that's the only. I think that's the only sandboxy, if that's a word, kind of game that I have. But that sounds on another level to Western Legends. So it sounds really fantastic to me.
I played Western Legends a couple of times, and I thought it was okay. I didn't love it, which is funny for me because I'm a massive Westerns fan. I'm not going to say that Bantam West is way better or anything like that, but I've got high hopes for Bantam West. I hope that getting into the meat of the proper game with all the details will give a bit more satisfaction. So we'll check it out.
Okay, so what have I been playing? I was able to get an early copy, fortunately, of the Fox Experiment.
Oh, yes. Do tell.
Elizabeth Hargrave. It was designed by Elizabeth Hargrave and Jeff Fraser, and it was published by Pandasaurus Games. I will say that the box didn't smell that great. It was a little disappointing. Generally, Pandasaurus Games are a bit like that. There's like a publisher scale of smell.
Oh, hang on. Before, let's quickly who has of your time? Who has the best smell for their boxes?
Oh, Stone My Games for sure. Yeah, they're really.
That's because Jamie
good.
Probably puts like potpourri
it's like It's like lobster in the food world, or caviar.
I would love. What would be awesome? Finding out that they all use the same manufacturer anyway.
I can tell. I have got a very good nose, and I can tell the difference. Yeah,
I bet.
Anyway, this game is really interesting because it's about a real experiment that actually started in 1958 in Russia. And there was an experimental program to try and domesticate foxes. And I think it was silver foxes. And I think they were originally farming these foxes for their fur. In the end, scientists decided to try and domesticate them. And so what they would do is that each breeding cycle, they would pick out the foxes that had the most friendly traits, and then they would breed those, and then the pups, they would then choose the friendliest ones, and they would keep going and going and going to see if they could domesticate them. They actually found that as a result of this experiment, which funnily enough, well, it's not funny, but it's still going, believe it or not, that the foxes started developing traits like dogs. And so they would start barking at humans or wagging their tail, or their tails would start curling up, or they developed spots, or their ears went floppy. And so this game is based on that. And it's so interesting to have a game. I love games that are based on real things, not necessarily historical war type games, but this kind of thing I really like. I was so excited to play it. So the retail version plays 1 to 4 players, but if you happen to get the Kickstarter, it does go up to 6. But so what you're going to do is over 5 rounds, you're going to draft a pair of fox parents that are in a market, and there's a female market and a male market. Those foxes are pre-allocated a set of dice, and each of the dice, and there are different coloured dice, are all related to a particular trait. and they're the traits that I mentioned before. So can't remember which is which, but the brown dice might be for barking, and the purple dice might be for a wagging tail, etc. So when you're picking a parent, you know that one there has got very good genes for wagging their tail, and it's got very good genes for floppy ears. And you're picking the parents based on that, because at the start of the game you get dealt almost like a goal to complete during the game, that you want to have a fox that has very floppy ears, and you want to have a fox that has a curled up tail and spots. So you're going towards that to get victory points. What's interesting is when you pick those parents and then you breed, you get all these dice and you roll them, and each die has either a whole, I'm trying to explain it, it's almost like a whole symbol or a half symbol. So depending on your die roll, you're going to have to join perhaps 2 die together to get a full symbol. Like you might have to join 2 purple die that have half symbols to get an entire symbol for a wagging tail, for example, something like that. So there's a lot of trying to organise your dice to get the best pup possible, or the friendliest pup possible. What's really cute as well is that you do actually get to name them as well. Once you've done that, once you've bred and you've rolled your dice and you've bred your pup, you get to name it. That pup will be rated on its friendliness, or whether you met those goals. And then it will go sort of back into the market again, because that pup then becomes ready for breeding again. And then you go through another breeding cycle, and you do that 5 times. So in the next round, another player could take your pup and use that in their breeding cycle. By the end of it, you're breeding pups with very high levels of friendliness. As the pups keep going, they get more and more traits, and they score better, and they become more and more friendly. Another part of the game as well is you've got a board that you can upgrade, and depending on how friendly your fox is, you can also upgrade it so that you can perhaps, instead of just breeding 1 pup, you can breed multiple pups, or you could take another end of round goal, or you could develop a partnership with a patron to get endgame scoring points. So there's sort of that part of it as well. And it's a very interesting game, one that I haven't really seen before. I'm trying to think if I know of a game where they do that with dice, where you've got all these half symbols and you're trying to match them up, but I can't think of one at the time.
The only one I can think of is the Spire one. What's it called? Spire's End. Which is a little solo player. They have like targets, and they'll have half targets, and if you get 2, you can match them up, and they line up.
I'm trying to. There is another one I'm thinking of, and I'll probably remember it at like 11:30 tonight when I'm in bed. But it's like almost like
on the toilet.
You have to take twice the amount of actions to do the one thing if you want it to happen, and it's a really interesting choice that you need to make, whether you go, look, I'm not going to do it, or you just go, yep, look, I have to put those 2 dice together. Even though I don't really want to, I've got to go and do that.
Yes, very similar to that. Sounds very similar to that. So it's a very interesting game, and it's actually very thematic. And I say that because there's little things like if you end up taking from the market 2 of your own pups, it's considered inbreeding. So there's a penalty for that. So just little things like that, I think, make it very thematic. Now, it's light to medium. It's not a heavy game, and I wouldn't describe it as a medium game. To me, it's a family weight game. I'm not talking about like Camel Up or something like that, but it's light to medium. I played it at 2 and 3. I did not like it at 2. And this could just be me. I do not like playing 2 players where you've got to play that third AI opponent.
Yep.
I really dislike that.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the bum, and I hate these random things that it does. It's just really annoying. It just annoys me. So you do have to do that in this game. So I played it at 3, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to play it at 4, but it is better with more players anyway because you have more selection from the pups that are breeding, because it can be quite brutal. If you're last in turn order, you could end up with some not well-bred pups as parents, and it can be a bit brutal. So it is definitely a game that you want to play with more players. I was pleasantly surprised that some of the actions that you do are simultaneous, which is great. I'm a big fan of simultaneous actions in games. The artwork is really great. It's really beautiful, I must admit. The only thing that I will say, and I wanted to ask you about this and if you have this or not, and this is probably just a me problem, but you know, when I read that Elizabeth Hargrave has designed a game, I think I'm getting Wingspan or another version of it, but I'm not. And then I'm disappointed when I don't get it.
Well, I wouldn't have that because I'd be disappointed if I did get it.
Okay, well, you could put it as any particular designer that you like, or that if there's a particular game that perhaps you really have loved in the past. I think it ruins my impression of it because I go into thinking that this is going to be another Wingspan, and when it's not, I'm disappointed, and I think that's not a good way to be.
But is that the game's fault, or is that your expectations?
Well, it's me. That's the problem. That's what I'm saying. I've got a problem.
I probably don't. As much as I like particular designers and like games by particular designers, I don't necessarily follow a designer and because I like a particular thing that they did in terms of a mechanism or whatnot. So I see where you're coming from. And again, if I was to compare it to other media, board games are something that you can have infinite replay with, right? Once you've got it, you play it and you can play it until you're totally sick of it. Whereas a movie, on the other hand, you might go see a movie once. So you want to go see another movie by the same director because you're getting that same feeling again, and it's a little bit adjacent. You know, if you like, I'm just thinking of a famous director off the top of my head, but like a Quentin Tarantino, if you want to see a Quentin Tarantino film, it's because you want to see that type of film. But when you play Wingspan and you want to play Wingspan, do you want to play another game like Wingspan because of the card drafting, the engine building, the theme? Like what's that you're after? Because, you know, and I know this isn't what you're saying, Dana, but it's not up to Elizabeth Hargraves to make bird games all the time. It's not up to her to make.
No, I don't want bird games.
No,
I wanted, when I said that I wanted Wingspan.
Arguing, yeah.
Yeah, no, I wanted the crunchiness of Wingspan.
Sure.
And it was I think I was expecting something a little bit heavier than what it was.
Yeah.
Because as I said, I think I would describe it as a family game. Once you get past the, trying to put the dice together and stuff like that, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, that's probably my only thing, and I think I've got to try and get past that. It is a very good game. I did enjoy it, and I'm looking forward. I've actually got the Kickstarter eventually coming. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I was looking at BGG and I was looking at Fox Experiment on there, and this is currently rated at a 6.9. And I looked at the comments and I thought, geez, they were brutal because of the theme. A lot of people have arced up about, domesticating wild animals, and that it's condoning that type of behaviour. And I don't know. I don't know whether that's right or whatever, but there's people rating it a 10 because someone's voted it a 1 because of the theme and all that. And I thought, I wish people would just rate the game. I get that you don't like the theme, but just rate the game. I don't know. I know other games have had that, but yeah, I just found it quite disappointing, whether even just for her and Jeff Fraser as designers, that it's got that kind of rating on BGG.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's part of the thing with community ratings, right, is that people can put what they want. There's games that get review bombed, and some of them are funny. I would dare say that, could be like because of the theme that people don't identify with the theme, and rather than just going, meh, not for me. They like to have their opinion heard or whatever. But there's
Yeah.
games that are at a 10 and they haven't come out yet because someone's just gone and reviewed it at 10.
Yeah.
It's just been announced. It's all that stuff happens.
Some people rate Inish good. Like you can get anything.
You know who you are.
You're
Those
like a
people.
broken record, Mitch.
Consistency, Dana. Consistency.
That's it. All right, who wants to sizzle?
Well, not me personally, but I could talk about a sizzling game.
Go, Mitch, go.
So the game that I'm going to sizzle this week is a game that was sent to us by VR Distribution because I happen to be, you may or may not know, I happen to be quite a fan of this franchise. And the game is called Great Western Trail New Zealand. I'm going to be ruining the swear no segment here because it was my oath to play it as well. So that'll come out a bit later in the show. Yeah, I've got Great Western Trail New Zealand to the table with Jules. Jules had never played any form of Great Western Trail before, so it was the first time for him. Yeah, so it was pretty cool. For those who are maybe not totally familiar with Great Western Trail, it's a game about, well, the original was about cows. The new one, the Great Western Trail New Zealand, is about sheep and taking your sheep, raising them.
A game in New Zealand about sheep. Wow.
Wouldn't have heard about it. Wouldn't have read about it. It's amazing. You are developing your hand of sheep. So your sheep come in cards, and there's this deck builder aspect to trying to get the right set of cards, i.e. sheep, to take to market. And then you're traveling through this action rondelle system, which is a trail on the board, which ultimately is a circular route where you're traveling up it to port and then shipping your sheep off to different destinations, be it by train or boat. And in the original one, it was obviously just cows up to Kansas and then off on the trains. Mm-hmm. Whereas this one opens up a whole lot of more options for you because obviously with sheep, they can be shorn as well. So there are certain action spaces where you can decide to not take your sheep all the way to the end of the trail, and you can stop and shear them and then ship their wool off for similar rewards. There are different workers that you can get. Obviously, when you're working with sheep, you're going to get different workers. You have shepherds. They will help you with the shearing. There's also a new mechanic that they've added to this game where there's additional cards that you can add to your deck that give you different powers and different things when they come out. So it actually builds upon that deck building aspect. So you can choose at certain times when you're awarded with these cards to put these different cards into your deck, and they'll give you different bonuses and things when they come out. So it's not just about getting the sheep cards. Your deck becomes more of a factor in the game than just building up the power of the sheep and the value of the sheep. There's also some wild card workers. So you can use, there's a wildcard worker that can become any of the different workers that are available on your player board for those that have played Great Western Trail before. And ultimately, it's very similar. I mean, It probably shares 90% of the DNA with Great Western Trail. As I said, it just adds all these other bits and pieces into it as well. So from that aspect, I really enjoyed it. I've now played all three. I've played the obviously the base game, and then there's Argentina, and then now there's the New Zealand version. And I've got to say, wasn't a major fan of the Argentina version. I think I preferred the base more in terms of what do I prefer out of the base game or the original versus the New Zealand. I'm still on the fence. I think I've got to play New Zealand a few more times to try and to really be able to make the difference there. But it is really well done. I think the fun aspect, because there's so many different things you can do. There's don't have to have the shipments go by train. You can do them by boat to the different ports, and the different ports give you different bonuses. There's the deck building. There's the workers. There's a whole other trail. I can't remember the name of a track that you can work your way up to get bonuses on that track as well. So represented by a kingfisher icon. So there's a fair bit going on. If you've played Great Western Trail and you like it, but you think maybe it's a bit tired and maybe you know the system's too well now and you're looking for something a little bit more, just a little bit of extra flavour, that's how I describe it. Bit of garnish on top, maybe a little bit of sauce on the original that just spices it up a little bit.
When you think about the original, are you thinking about it with the rails to the north expansion? No,
No,
just the base game.
no, just the base game. I haven't actually played the Rustle of the North expansion because when that sort of came out, they did also announce the second edition roughly at the same time. And I was like, well, I'm not going to get the first edition expansion when I know that I want to get the second edition, because the second edition was coming with a solo mode. So that was always going to be
No
my
brainer.
preference. Yeah. So I've yet to get the new, the second edition Rouse to the North expansion hasn't made it here yet, I don't think. It's still only available overseas, so I'll try that out when I can. But I'm only comparing it to the original. I have actually heard some people say that they played New Zealand and find that it's a similar feel to the Rails to the North expansion.
Okay, all right.
But there's definitely a lot more going on. And I know the guys at South by Southwest, there was a group of some of our community members that played this at that festival. And I think they made a mistake. As much as I love this game, I don't think it should ever be played at 4 players.
Okay.
It just goes for too long.
Yep.
And whenever, especially when you've got new players as well, because people don't want to skip spots, because you can choose how quickly you move up the trail and get to deliver your sheep. And I found that newer players want to experience everything, so they'll go to every single location available, and that just takes so much longer to get through the game then as well. And if you have people that are slow playing and playing every single space, and you have 4 of them, and they're all building new buildings, which are creating more spaces, then all of a sudden you've got a 6-7 hour game on your hands. And this game is too long for that. So, I would say the guys played it on as I said, at South by Southwest, and I think they were probably around the 5 hour mark. I don't know if you remember them playing, guys.
I remember. Yeah, it was a long time.
I think I played about 4 games in the time that they played Great Western Trail.
Yeah.
I mean, it was longer than all the games I had played. But, it's because I had my first game of Great Western Trail on BGA, so that changes things a little bit. And I played with a couple of people who had played it before, and I was definitely, I was very much like, I wanted to, and it may be different to the New Zealand version, but it didn't seem overly long, and we played it at 3. But also, I think that the other players knew that you didn't have to stop in every single place in order to have a successful strategy.
Yeah. I think 3 is my max.
Yeah.
Or shortening the rounds. I was talking to Haig after their enormous game the other day, and I said, I house rule it at 4, and I'll say, no, we'll stop, maybe 5 turns before the end, or 5 rows on the worker track before the end, because, for me, it just goes for way too long. We played a 3-player game of the base game of the original 2nd edition at one of the Sydney game days, and that was about 4.5 hours. Even at 3, people were coming around, giving the old, is this the same game? Are you still playing? Yeah. So, it does have that potential to go for a long time. But if you're a fan of Great Western Trail and you're wondering what all the new ones are about, I'd definitely say Great Western Trail New Zealand is up there. It'll be staying in my collection now because it's, one that I'll hold on to. Do I think you need to have both? Probably not.
Yeah,
if I'm honest, I would say if you only want one, or you don't feel the need to have both, check them both out and decide which one you like the best, because they're both very, very good.
So it shouldn't have all 3 then?
Do you have all 3?
Yes.
Have you played them all, or are they on your shelf of shame?
2 are on the shelf of shame. So
right.
Oh, okay.
No,
never mind.
No.
That's fine. You can never have too many Western games.
No, absolutely. I'd definitely say check it out, and maybe everyone's different. Everyone's different. You might play a Dana and go, no, there's enough in these for me to have all of them, and that's fine. But for me, I think 2 is enough. But then again, as I said, I wasn't hugely enamored by Argentina. I'll hold on to both. I think you could get away with just keeping 1 if you really wanted to, because they are that similar. But the mechanics are so good in this series. They're great games. So check it out. Great Western Trail, New Zealand.
I will clarify that it's not technically on my shelf of shame, because I have a shelf of shame, but then if I'm too ashamed of the shelf of shame, they have to go out of sight, so they go under the bed.
Right, okay.
And then I don't have to look at them.
I have a stack of games behind me. That's nice.
Yeah.
So Argentina is living under the bed.
Like a monster.
So Connor's got a show for shame that if you come off that, you go into the naughty corner.
Yeah, that's right. Stay there. Yeah. All right.
What are you sizzling?
What am I sizzling? Oh my goodness. Have I been excited over the last couple of weeks? So I keep hearing about this game, this incredible boss battler. Not a dungeon crawler. I won't call it a dungeon crawler because it's not really a dungeon crawler, but this game called Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. And I remember it being on Kickstarter, and I thought, I can't bring myself to back another like big box dungeon crawling game that's chock full of miniatures, yada, 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 yada. I won't have time to play it. Anyway, sort of fast forward a couple of months, and someone said to me, oh, you didn't have to get the miniatures. You could get a standee version. And I went, hang on a second, a standee version, which if you talk to Connor from like 4 or 5 years ago, he would say blasphemous. You buy those miniatures, you let them take up space, and you will like it. But I have come around because having unpainted miniatures on the table just does my head in like way, way too much. So Oathsworn Into the Deepwood by Jamie Jolly. At its core, it is a narrative-based boss battler. So you're fighting big monsters in the Deepwood on the map. So if you've ever played Kingdom Death Monster, you will be right at home with the type of game it is. But what sets it apart, I think, from games like Gloomhaven, from Kingdom Death Monster, is the story is the best story in a dungeon crawler / campaign game that I have ever read. It is so good. There's an app that's narrated by, oh my goodness, what's the actor's name? But he knocks it out of the park. He's so good. And so he narrates each of the sections. So if you don't like reading or you sort of get bogged down with that, you can play the app, and it even helps you with each of the story scenarios. Now, a lot of the time, the story is not that engaging. Here, the story is a proper part of the game. You are making decisions. You're using time tokens. And depending on how many time tokens that you use, and that's the locations that you visited, you will get different bonuses in the game round. So once you get to fighting the eventual enemy that you're fighting, you will then get bonuses based on that. So you might get an extra unique, you might get a power-up, you might have to do certain city events. And the city events, if you've played Gloomhaven, the city events are like the city events in Gloomhaven, and then there's the events on the road, which are the Deepwood events, okay? And they generally have a pretty bad outcome because you've gone to the Deepwood. So the Deepwood is where you go and fight these monsters. But what you're doing in the game is you are taking control of a free company. So the free company is your group of characters who are made up of these, I guess, like they're not mercenaries. They've taken an oath called Oathsworn. So they've taken a pact or an oath to eliminate evil. And in your role for that, you might be helping people around town. So in one of, no spoilers, in the latest chapter I played, or one of the latest chapters I played, you're trying to find the blacksmith's son, and then that then leads you to fight the monster. When you have your free company, when you play this game, you have to play with 4 Oathsworn. But I think what really sets this game apart is that when you play the combat, you then choose how many full characters you want to play as. So in my playthrough, I've got the priest, the penitent, which is kind of like a knight, it's with a flail, a barbarian which is called the exile, and then an archer or a ranger, which is pretty self-explanatory. But the 2 characters I'm playing in total are the priest and the penitent, whereas my exile and ranger are companions. And what companions are is they are stripped down in terms of actions, but no less powerful than the ones that you play. And the way that this works is the main resource in the game that you use to take actions is called animus. So it's these little tokens. And if you've ever played the Conan games before, it's similar to that, where it costs you these animus to take actions and play cards. So your companions only have 2 animus, but they can move way, way further with the cost of 1 or do way more damage with the cost of 1 than your own characters. So they're not less effective, they're just less complicated. So that's a really cool system. And there are rules to swap back and forth. So if I go down the path, I'm like, oh, you know what? I actually want to control in full the ranger and the exile, I can then change my other ones into my companions, and they are still part of the story and whatnot, because you've got to equip them like you do in Gloomhaven and all other RPGs and stuff like that. But as good as the story is, what makes this game so cool and so much fun is the combat. So it's a boss battle. You're fighting generally one boss, one enemy, and sometimes they might have some minions. So there could be smaller versions of the monster or younger versions of their brood or whatnot. And what you're doing is you are playing cards from your hand. And you're probably going, oh, this sounds like Gloomhaven. But it's not like Gloomhaven, because the cards can continually come back to your hand through this system called Battle Flow. So each of the cards will have a value from 3 to 0, 3 being the highest, 0 being the lowest. And any card that you play down into your sections. So if you play it into your 0 section, that card will immediately come back to your hand at the end of turn. And then if you've got a card in the 0 section and you then battle flow, which then shifts all the cards in the section down 1, you then get to have that card back to your hand. So there's a way to sort of get these really, really cool combos going and going and going. The other part of combat that I think is really, really good is that there's this sort of fail forward mechanic. So you can commit different tokens to your attacks to make them more powerful. You can empower dice or cards, which means that you go up to the next rank. Starts off as white, which are basic ones, then yellow, then red, then black. You can empower dice. You can also redraw to make sure you don't fail. Now, there's no auto fail, but if you draw 2 blank cards, or you can also use dice, if you have 2 blank dice come up, you have failed the attack. It doesn't matter how much damage you do. If 2 blanks come up, you failed. However, re-roll or redraw tokens are in plentiful supply. If you then redraw and re-roll again and fail, what happens is any attacking tokens you've used in that attack, they come back to you. And then you also get an additional token back on top of that. So it's almost like you're inspired, you're frustrated, your characters are like, oh my goodness, that was my big hit. I then get all my tokens back. I then get my next attack, which can be even more powerful. So the only thing you don't get back is the card that you played, but eventually it'll come back through the battle flow. I think it's such a clever system. I've played plenty of games where you roll a buttload of dice and you get snake eyes. I've played Gloomhaven where you have the auto fail or the cancel card come up. I played Arkham Horror where, as Mitch knows, you have the auto fail token that can come up. And this system, there's no auto failing, but even if you do fail, it then helps you going forward. I personally think that this is the best campaign RPG game I've ever played, like 100%. I've only played a couple of sessions of it, but for me, it's more entertaining, more engaging than Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven can be a bit samey. It sort of has that, and what people like about Gloomhaven is the Euro-y aspect. So it's like you've got a timer. There is no timer with this. The mission can go for as long as you want, as long as you succeed or no one's being knocked out or everyone isn't knocked out, then you can still keep going. Right, with Gloomhaven, once you've played all your cards or once all your cards are, I don't think they call it, do they call it exiling? Once all your cards are gone, then you can't play anymore. But this, it's so good, man. I was so upset going to Sydney because I had to pack it up, and then I couldn't wait to get back this week to set it all up again and play it. I'm having an absolute ball. The characters are really cool takes on common archetypes. There's even a battle bear. That's right. You can be a war bear. I see you nodding, Mitch. You want to be the war bear. And
I've been called worse.
War sound like a different word, didn't it? It is a campaign game, so there's that going for it. But in terms of solo play as well, this is the one of the few campaign games where I don't feel like the solo play is way, way too much to handle. Normally, I'm like, look, I love this game, but I need to play it with someone else, at least one other person. So Gloomhaven's like that. I can't play Gloomhaven solo. I like to play with someone else. Whereas this one, because of the companion system, if you wanted to, I don't know why you would, but if you wanted to, you can have all your characters as companions. It takes away part of the fun with the card management, but you could have you could even have all 4 be full characters if you wanted. And I still don't think if you play games like Arkham Horror, like Gloomhaven, even Too Many Bones, I think you would find it pretty comfortable to do this. So, yeah, I really, really adore this game. I'm going to be really interested come end of the year with our top 10s to see where this falls because
it's going to get in there.
Wow, I would. It's got to do a lot wrong in the next month or so for it not to be.
Can I ask you about like the narrative sort of campaign-y storyline aspect to it? So a lot of those games that tout themselves as a narrative campaign adventure game, I find, and I'm going to be critical of my favorite game of all time here, Too Many Bones, because I find that's probably the weakest aspect of Too Many Bones for me, is that the narrative is really not there. It's just a series of battle events that you do every day until you fight the tyrant at the end. How is Oathsworn for that? Is it actually a strong narrative and story, or is it? Yeah, and does it fit with the combat and the stuff that happens as well?
Yeah, so it's totally interwoven into the world, right? It's got this aesthetic, this kind of, I'd say, like low fantasy aesthetic. So it's not high fantasy. It's grim. The story itself, I can't wait to find out more. That's how good it is. There's this mystery going on, and you can have branching choices. Right. So, a little bit of a minor spoiler. In the second chapter, you then choose to follow. It sounds silly, and I don't think the wording they used wasn't this, but it's like you can choose to chase your dreams or find the blacksmith's son. And what they mean by chase your dreams is you've had this vision, and it's like, I can't be dealing with this now. I need to go and find. I need to go and sort, and that actually changes the story outcome and totally changes what you have to do within the. I think you still end up fighting the same boss in the end. It's like you're going around. It's kind of like a stripped down version of the Sherlock Holmes mysteries. So I don't know if you've played that, but you're going around, you're trying to find clues and trying to put things together and then come back within a certain time frame. So what happened is that I spent too much time trying to solve the mystery, and the game said, nope, you've got to come back here and do this now. But I had a chance to go through, and at that same time, I could go visit the blacksmith, I could go to the apothecary, all this type of stuff. But the actual story behind it, the narrative, is sensational. It's like I would read it as a book. That's how good it is.
Yeah, right. Sounds great.
Yep.
How did you both get into RPGs? Was it something that you developed a love for the storytelling and everything as a child, reading as a child? Is that where it came from?
No, not reading as a child for me. Me and a couple of friends just joined a D&D group when that we used to play after school in high school. You know, I went Thursday afternoon or whatever it may be when I was in like 7th grade. So, that was just the thing that we did. It was something fun to do as a sort of a after school activity. Just grew from there, I guess.
From there. What about you, Connor?
I haven't played RPGs in a traditional sense, like Dungeons and Dragons or whatnot, a whole heap. But mine came from video games, because the video games I loved were games where you created a character, went off on an adventure, made your own path, yada, yada, yada. So when I found out that board games, not just tabletop RPGs, but board games could do that now, I was like, just hook me up, man. I'm down with that. But it's probably it's similar to Mitch. I like the world of D&D as well. That's sort of kind of in my wheelhouse. But no, I don't. Just something that happened organically, I think.
Yeah. Well, I've got to talk about a similar game called Forest Shuffle. I've been wanting to talk about this game for ages because it has been on. It's one of those games that came out on BGA before it was actually released into retail, and so I have been playing it on BGA a lot. I've got a problem once again, and I managed to, I overspent and bought a copy from overseas. I finally got the actual paper copy of the game, or the physical copy rather of the game recently, and I'm so glad that I did. But anyway, finally I get to talk about it. So Forest Shuffle got released. It was an Essen release, and it's had a lot of buzz about it. It was certainly talked about a lot before it was released. And it's designed by Kosh, who I had never heard of. It's a bit like Sher, Kosh, and published by Lookout Games. And he designed another game called Fife, Fyfe, when I looked on BGG, which I'd never heard of either. So have you played that? Have you played that game at all?
I haven't, no, but yeah.
No.
Anyway, so in this game, it's 1 to 4 players. It's a card game, and you are competing to develop the most valuable forest. And so what you're doing on your turn, there's only 2 things you can do, is to play a card or pick up 2 cards. So it's a very simple game in that regard, that you've only got 2 actions to choose from. But there's a lot of depth in it because each of the cards that you play all have little interlocking scoring with them. And an example of how interesting or intricate the scoring is it actually comes with like 14 different player aids that you're supposed to lay out on the table for people to...
That might be a good player aid, but 14 sounds like a bit overdone.
It's a lot of cards like to have on the table, and I think they're double-sided actually too. Anyway, so you wouldn't want to be there playing a game with new players and having to refer to these 14, player aid type cards. You wouldn't want to do that. So what you're doing is there are 2 different types of cards. There are tree cards, and then there are what they refer to as forest dweller cards. So when you play a card, if you're going to play a tree, you play it in front of you into your forest, and you need to discard a certain number of cards to be able to do that. And it's normally written in the top left-hand corner of the card. So your payment is to discard X number of cards from your hand to do that. Once you've established a tree, you can then play these other cards, which are the forest dweller cards. And there are 2 different types of forest dweller cards. There are cards that are split down the centre vertically, and it'll have a forest dweller on either side. It could be a different type or the same. Then there are other cards that are split in the centre horizontally. So, for example, you might have a bird on top and you might have a mushroom or something like that on the bottom. And so the trees that you have in your forest are now available to attract these forest dwellers. And you can play these cards on the bottom side of the tree, left or right of the tree, and also on top of the tree. And so if you think about a full tree, it'll have 2 little half cards tucked underneath it on either side, and then 2 little half cards tucked underneath it, top and bottom as well. Depending on which animal you play or that you have exposed that's not tucked underneath the card, it will have certain scoring conditions. For example, if you play a boar, it'll say, you'll get 10 points if you have a squeaker, which is... I'd never heard of a squeaker before, but it's such a cute little thing with stripes. It looks like a miniature pig. It's so cute. Anyway, if you play the boar, if you have at least 1 squeaker, you'll get 10 points at the end of the game. And if you play a wolf, it'll say it'll score based on the number of deer that you have. The bird will score based on the number of birds that you have, et cetera, so that each of these different forest dwellers has some kind of scoring that generally relates to some other type of card or dweller, or it might give you points if it's on a certain type of tree. A really important thing with this game is to know what goes with what. And so when you're playing this game the first time, you're probably... I enjoyed it the first time I played it because I could see the potential in it. But it is handy if you know what those relationships are. if you don't know them, you're going to be constantly looking at cards and you're not going to know what's what and all that. So this is a game to me that's designed to be played repeatedly. So you get to know the cards and then you can work out what strategy you want to lean into based on the cards that you're dealt. It's a delightful puzzle to me. On top of that, you can also get bonus actions if you discard certain types of cards when you're playing another card. If you discard a certain types of cards, you can get bonus actions that get you to have an extra turn or things like that. I just love this game, and I've never, even though I've lost terribly, I've never not enjoyed playing it.
Yeah.
I've loved it. And look, I think it's better with more players. You can play it at 2 and it's fine at 2. But there's a couple of really high scoring combinations in this game that if someone were to get all the deer and all the wolves, it would be near impossible to beat them. So if you're in a 4-player game, you can sort of share that around a bit. So I think it would be better at 4 players. But I love this game, and I'm actually like scratching my face because
Dana is like trying to contain herself right now talking about this game.
Oh, I love it. And actually, I think Adrian played it on BGA the first time, and then he I think he messaged me later saying, I keep playing this game. But the other thing to mention, probably the scoring can be a bit of a bear at the end because there are a lot of different relationships that you have to score. So it can be a bit of a bear, but if you can put up with that, it's fine. If you're playing,
it doesn't look like there's any bears in this game, so I don't know what you're
talking about. There is a bear.
Oh, there is?
I think.
Oh, okay.
Is there a bear? I think there is a bear. There's a boar, but I don't know if there's a bear now. I come to think about it. There's pretty much everything else, and the artwork is so good.
Chair as well.
Thanks.
People with names, stories to tell. So it's really, really great. And look, I highly recommend it. I absolutely love it.
This mechanic of the half and half cards, oh my God, this has me in. Yeah. Like I'm 30 seconds away from. Is it out? Can I buy this game?
No. Oh, you can. You can buy it, but you have to buy it from overseas.
Oh, man.
I'll hook you up.
Thanks, man. This is like so cool. My family would adore this game, like big time.
Yeah, it's really good. And it's just cards, really. There is a board, which is it's called the clearing, where the market is supposed to be. But to be honest, you could not play with the market at all. So you could take it camping and stuff like that, which I actually love games that can be transportable camping or on a holiday or something like that. So it's so good. Really, really good. You've sold me. That's it.
I see with the squeaky you're talking about too. It's like a little pygmy pig.
It's like a little pig. It's like a little miniature pig with stripes. It's a beautiful boy. All right, so we've got some announcements to make. So first one is the Melbourne Game Day is coming up on the 4th of November at Preston City Hall. And it goes from between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. and tickets are on sale now. I did actually just check Eventbrite today. I know we're a couple of days away from actually releasing the podcast, but tickets are still available. But every time I go to a game day, they always sell out. So it seems to, I don't know why people wait, but so they are likely to sell out. And there
are a rush.
Yeah, that's it. And there are still scheduled teachers available, lots of scheduled teachers available. And one thing that Dan mentioned is that there are 8 local designers attending the game day, and they're going to be play testing their games there. So you can book in a session to show your support for them, which is fantastic. That's certainly more than we've had in Brisbane, which is wonderful. That's really great. Then we have the Sydney Game Day, which is coming up on the 9th of December. I'm not sure when tickets go on sale, Mitch.
People don't generally, like you said, people always wait till the last minute to buy tickets. We thought, bugger them. We'll wait till the last minute before we put them on sale.
They go on sale the 8th.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've been busy as with South by Southwest and everything, and then COVID knocking us all out. So I'll get together with Jules and Lauren, and we'll get it sorted soon. But we'll notify everyone if you're in Sydney and you want to get along on the December 9th, then get onto our socials, sign up to follow us on Eventbrite, and you'll get all the notifications as soon as the tickets are available.
And then we have the Brisbane Game Day. And I'm really disappointed to be missing this one because I'm going to be on an overseas holiday, but it's on the 30th of December. So it's being called the Happy New Year's Eve Game Day. And it's going between 10 a.m. and 2 a.m. this time because normally we get kicked out, I think it's midnight or 11, something like that. So the fact that we're staying till 2 a.m. is fantastic. And that's going to be at Westside HQ in Corinda. It's also being sponsored by Games Australia, Let's Play Games in VR Distribution. So there's going to be loads of giveaways. So you definitely don't want to miss out for that one. Tickets aren't on sale for that yet. But like Mitch said, if you just sign up to Eventbrite and keep an eye out on the Board Game BBQ socials, it'll be announced when they're on sale.
If you're looking for a new board game, you need to check out adventgames.com.au. They have a great range of games, including pre-orders and hot new games. Anything you could be looking for will be there at Advent. Dean provides excellent customer service that is second to none, and he's always keen to support the Australian board game community through events, game days, and even through sponsoring a podcast. So head over to adventgames.com.au today. That's adventgames.com.au.
Okay, so now we're on to the question of the pod, which was, what was the most unique or unconventional board game you've ever played and what made it stand out? So we have quite a bit of discussion actually over the course of the week, particularly on Facebook and Discord. So I'll get Connor to read out what happened on Facebook.
Some of our responses across the two platforms. So Eva de Fiba, apologies if I've no deadly mispronounced that, be quiet, Mitch. She said, they say definitely ether-filled as it really takes you into a dream world with changing rules and mechanisms for each dream and a story that you puzzle together from all the snippets you find as you play, like remembering only the scrambled parts of your dreams once you wake up. I really love the game for its uniqueness, and I guess it's why many people would dislike it. You may go in with a different mindset than you have in your regular board games. Def loved this game, like proper loved it. He totally binged it. I think he played it with either Angie or Penny, so I think he does. He loves this game. Ryan Jackson says, I haven't seen anything remotely close to Fresh Fish by Friedman Freeze. The way the expropriation works to keep the board connected hurts my brain in all the good ways. Apologies, I don't know what that word means. So is that Ryan, I believe that you have used a correct word, so my apologies. I can't comment on that. Jamie Lynn says the Turing machine, whoever made that was a genius. Oh, who invented the original Turing machine? I don't know. Joaquin Andy.
Alan Turing?
It was Bernard, you know what.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Just based on our discussions about our losing board games, I thought you were quite dumb. Sorry.
Well, I am, but that doesn't have to do with losing board games. Joaquin Andy says Star Trek Ascendancy purely for its exploration and warp movement mechanics. Robert Newman says, I would have to say Captain Sonar. It's the most stress and fun you can have with 7 of your friends, a real-time form of battleship with the highest of high when you end up on top. Yes, and I think Pav in our Discord said the same thing. Intensive Claire from Discord said, I played Shelfie Stacker at WillyCon when it was still being playtested. Ended up buying a copy when it released because it was so unique and cute. You try to assemble your board game collection on your shelf according to different rules and bonuses on the round, and new boxes of games arrive each round for you to place according to the rules. Games that can't be moved are placed onto your shelf of shame and deduct points. Well, such a clever and unique game for a concept we can all relate to. We have all just admitted to that. So, yes, I don't know if Mitch did, but I know Mitch has a shelf of shame.
Small. but I probably do have one. Some of the other responses that I'll go through. So Shoitan says, not to sound like a broken record, but, when people are saying not to sound like a broken record, it's because they know they are sounding like a broken record, right?
Yeah.
That means that came from him.
I am a broken record, Shoitan. Thanks. We know. He says, John Company is one of the most memorable and unique board game experiences I've ever had. You read the board state, you read your opponents, you make deals and games based on what you read, and I hope India doesn't punish you for your ambitions. Incredible and unique experience. No other game goes for 4+ hours and has me actively paying attention to and engaging in every single person's turn. It's funny though. I remember when Shoitan put this on the Discord. I did reply to him actually, and I said, it's interesting that he feels like this is such a unique thing that there's a board game where you read the opponents, read the board, and make decisions and hope they work out for you. Doesn't sound that unique to me. But
it's a shame that it's never been thought of before.
I want to play one. Where do I get one of these crazy board game things?
The downside is you can't play it by yourself. That's the only thing.
Right. Well, you can't read other people if you're playing by yourself, can you? Rainer says, games I love for the uniqueness may be they are not quite unique, but at least for me. Pyramid of Penguin, vertical board where you move your token on both sides. This sounds like fun. Return to Dark Tower, best gadget. Cubero, tricky ways. Bring my love for marbles together with a high-quality board game. They sound like pretty cool games.
I actually looked those up. I looked all of them up because I thought I knew about Return to the Dark Tower, but I looked up Cubero, tricky ways.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That looks so cool for the toy factor alone. It's solid wood, and it's basically a marble track puzzle.
Right.
And it looks like so much fun. The only thing is it's $359.
Jeez.
But it looks really cool. It looks great.
It might be hard to get or something at the moment.
Maybe.
Eric Twice says, from the top of my head, Tragedy Looper and The Mind. It's pretty good. Sean White says, Feudum. On Instagram, VT Board Gamer says, Nyctophobia, you play the game blind. This one you have to be blindfolded, which would be bizarre, I imagine. Never played it, but sounds like fun.
When I looked at pictures of that, and I don't know how you would feel about that and the kind of people that you would play a game like that with, but you'd have to be comfortable touching other people's hands. Like, would you two play that when you're touching each other's hands? I don't know.
Touching Mitch's hands.
Yeah, with the blindfold. It'd be weird, wouldn't it? You'd want to be really comfortable with the person to do that. I wouldn't want to touch your hands without a...
You wouldn't want to touch my hands. I've got nice hands.
Don't lie, Dana. Don't lie. All you ever think about is touching my hands.
I bet you if we were Tom Vassell, she'd want to touch our hands.
Oh, that's different. That's different.
Tom Vassell, that's right. Retabood Board Games said, Shadow in the Forest, you have to hide your meeples in the shadows of trees on the game board. One player plays a tea light moving around. If after his turn is over, if players stand in the light, that player is caught. Completely crazy. That sounds like fun. A bit of a stealth kind of mechanic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes.
We had some great conversation there. I love just looking at people's answers. And one thing I do love, I love researching games, like new games or different games that I haven't heard of. And these questions of the pod are so good for that. They're really good. I'm always, on the internet looking up $359 toys or something like that. But I've just found it great. Really, really good. So
I think the challenge for us as podcasters and as people who come up with these questions of the pod, we've got to try and come up with a question of the pod that your Shoitan can't answer John Company for.
What's your favourite game that isn't John's Company? What's the other way to annoy him? Call it John's Company instead of John Company. That's
Well, I think the next question of the pod, I don't think he would be able to answer John Company to this.
Don't underestimate the power of Shoitan to just twist things around to John Company.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Go your hardest.
The challenge is yours. The challenge is yours, then, Dan.
So, the new question of the pod, and now, no, I'm going to tell a story beforehand. I'll tell a story, quick story. I won't take too long. There's a reason why this question is there. I played a game, and I bought a game. Completely hardly knew anything about it. I just saw a picture of people playing it, and anyway, long story short, I bought it. along with 6 other people. We're all enablers, and we all went down the line and we all bought it, having never played this game. And we bought it because it's called The Golden Ticket. It's all based on the movie of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but the Gene Wilder version, because the Johnny Depp version is just weird. It's I really don't like that movie at all. But it's based on that. Playing this game just brought back so many good memories, and to see the people playing this game, because you can play as characters from the movie, like, I don't know if you know
Augustus
the movie,
Gloop.
like Veruca Salt and Augustus Gloop.
Johnny
That's who you
Depp.
remind me of, Mitch. You remind me of Augustus Gloop. Oh, yeah, that's you. Anyway, but yeah, so you're not happy about that, are you?
You have to run a long way to make me offended by anything, let me tell you.
Anyway, but you can play as the characters. And so while we're playing the game, and this, look, just to be clear, is a family game. It's a light game, and it's a family game. Us adults were playing it, and we had so much fun just talking about the memories of watching this movie as a child. And the game has about 50 or 60 Wonka bars, and you're trying to buy the most Wonka bars to increase your chances of getting a golden ticket. And the golden tickets are placed in there, at the start of the game, and no one knows where they are. The end of the game is everybody opening their Wonka bars to see who gets the golden ticket, or golden tickets, because there's more than one. And actually, like, after people played, people went home and watched the movie because it just brought back so many positive memories. And I played this with my children, and they're 18, 17 and 16, and they all loved it. They loved it more than Heat. They loved it more than Flamme Rouge, and they want to play it again.
Yeah, cool.
Because of the nostalgia that this created. And so the new question of the pod is, what game gives you a sense of nostalgia or brings back a happy memory from your past? Another game that I've only watched a playthrough of it, but that brings back happy memories for me is, I don't know if you've seen, there was a review recently about this game called Books of Time. Have you seen it, where it's got these little ring binders and you're putting pages in your book?
I know what a ring binder is, but I don't know about the game.
Anyway, you've got these little ring binders and you're creating books with these ring binders and putting pages in it. And nobody uses ring binders anymore, I don't think, anyway. Just watching that took me back to high school, but in a positive way. And I ended up talking to some of my school friends that I hadn't talked to for ages. And I thought, all of that, just for something in a board game, it created that, like I said,
you didn't even play.
Well, I didn't even play it. That's right. But it just brought back those happy memories for me. So I'd like to hear we'd like to hear from everybody if there's a game that you played that gives you that feeling. Can you think of one at all?
I don't have any happy memories.
I was going to say.
Sad life. It is sad life being you, Mitch.
Poor me.
Being Augustus Gloop.
Yeah. My one isn't a good game at all, but I've definitely talked about this before on the podcast. Every Christmas for years and years, we used to play Talisman, which is god awful, like so bad. It's roll and move. It's crap. But that game just brings me back to sitting around the table, being a little kid again, playing Talisman, looking through the cards, like hoping that you didn't get the hag or get turned into a toad or whatever. And just, the times when we all get to settle down around Christmas time and play. So, yeah, Talisman's mine.
Mine would definitely be Cluedo. I used to play Cluedo with my sister and with the girl up the road that we used to play with just constantly. I don't know if it was around Christmas. It was just every holidays. Anytime we got a chance to, hang out and whatever, if a board game came out, it was going to be Cluedo. And I remember I was the youngest, so I could never figure out how they were working it out. And they used to, because they were always, as I said, I was the youngest, they were always older than me, and they always used to trick me. They'd make the accusations for, say, 3 things that they had in their own hand. And so when no one actually said, yeah, I have those cards, I was like, well, that's it then. It's over. Game's
Yeah.
over, I know. And then I'd always guess that and then get out because it wasn't it. So they used to fool me, and I could never really work out how they were doing it. But yeah, Cluedo for me. And, you know, people rag on Cluedo and say, it's wrong move and all that sort of stuff that they say about it. I would play Cluedo any day of the week if anyone wanted to say, hey, let's sit down and play a game of Cluedo. I'd play.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we're up to our Patreon shout-outs. And we'd like to say thank you to our Patreons Kevin Berry, Lee Perrott, Elsie Barnett, and Frank Versace. So if you'd like to support the podcast, you can always go to patreon.com or the Board Game BBQ and sign up and donate to get access to exclusive podcast episodes that we record just for our Patreons. There are other ways to support as well. You can also go to Apple Podcasts and leave a star rating or a review for us. And you could also go to Spotify and leave a star rating there as well. And it only takes a few seconds of your time, but it really means the world to us. And of course, get involved with the Facebook community, on Instagram, and also on Discord as well. That is one of the most important things for us. Oh, and also Twitter as well. That's really important to us, is to get involved in conversation and support the show, because that's what we love the most about anything. And all the links are in the show notes. So now we're up to swearing an oath. So, Connor.
I did it for so long. I was like, I haven't done it because of this. I haven't done it because of that. But I did. I got it done. So for ages, Oathsworn was my oath. And I did that, so I played that. And my other one was to play Lorcana with Adrian, and we played that at PAX. So thank goodness this game is not out in Australia yet, because I would be a very, very poor person if Lorcana was out.
I played Lorcana with Adrian as well when he came in for South by Southwest. Yeah. And I've never played Magic. He's a qualifier. Yeah. I've never played Magic or anything. I've only played Keyforge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I thought Lorcana I was expecting to play something a lot more heavy, a lot more strategic, like a lot more to it. I was surprised at how easy it was to pick up and pretty simple to play.
But you're not a sicko like me, so that's probably why you're not trying to find dollars down the side of your couch to afford postage for Lorcana.
I'm assuming it's aimed at children, isn't it?
If I like it, yes, it's probably aimed at children. No, it's not. It's aimed at Disney. Anyone who likes Disney and wants to play a card game based around it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did say, me and Adrian sort of decided that the next time we're on a podcast together, we would talk about it, because I only played it once, and he's played it a lot. So we thought that'd be good. So hopefully that's something to look forward to. But we don't sit on our laurels. The other day I put a post about a whole bunch of games I bought. I went on a spree. And one of them was Dorf Romantic, which was a game of the year this year at...
It was
for
Spiel. Yep.
It's a Spiel winner. So I'm really keen to play that. I've never played the video game, but people said the video game's like super like addictive. So probably a good thing I'm not playing that. But I'm really keen to play the board game. So I kind of swear the next time I'm on the podcast, I will have played Dorf Romantic.
What about you, Mitch?
Cool. Well, I kind of let the cat out of the bag earlier by playing Great Western Trail New Zealand, which I did and enjoyed very much so I won't say too much more than that. In terms of my next oath, so I recently received a copy of Ticket to Ride Legends of the West, which is the Ticket to Ride legacy game.
Whoa.
I'm so jealous.
I quite enjoyed Ticket to Ride. I've got probably... people at home can't see, but I've got a few different versions of Ticket to Ride, and my family quite enjoy it. So I'm really looking keen to get it to the table with my wife and daughter. And I love westerns set in the Wild West and the frontier, so it's going to be awesome. So it's a funny one though, because I was thinking about making it my oath, but then I can't really talk about it much because it is legacy. Yes. And even opening the box this morning, I was having a look at the pieces I'm allowed to look at, and straight away I was like, oh, I haven't seen that before. And I thought, well, I can talk about that because it's the first thing you see. But then I was surprised by it, and it was something interesting to me.
Yes,
I thought,
yes.
You better leave it for other people too.
I'd better leave it for other people to have that same surprise as well when they open the box. But
Yeah.
as soon as you open the box, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I have never seen anything like that in a board game before in terms of Legacy. It'll be interesting. I don't think I'll be able to complete it by the next time I'm on the pod, but I will have started it, and I will provide whatever non-spoilery updates I can as I go.
Yeah, for sure.
I have high expectations for the box smell on that. I do.
What, because it's Days of Wonder?
Yeah, Days of Wonder. Yeah, it's going to be good. I know it. So my oath was to play Praga Kaput Regni because I'm on my quest to play Vladimir Suchi games, which I did. I was very kind enough to have a couple of community members, Shane and Ingrid, teach me. And actually, Adrian joined in. He'd already played before, but they taught the game. I only got to play it once. But I don't know if any of you have played that game before.
I have.
You?
I've played it with Adrian.
Yes. Anyway, he won, but it's a typical Vladimir Suchi game, which there's just so much to do. It's like like this delightful, delicious point salad game where there's just so many things to do, whether you're rebuilding Prague. And I just love his games. He's so clever. It's got this little action selection rondelle, and then there's a bridge that you can build, and there's so much to do. I didn't even do half of the things that I was able to do. And it looks like Where's Wally, the board. It's really unusual, the art style. It literally looks like Where's Wally. I don't know if you found that when you played it.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah, like with the little people around town and whatever. Yeah. I get that vibe.
Yeah, it threw me off a bit when I looked at the board. I thought, oh, that's very unusual. But yeah, it's very unusual looking, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So it certainly didn't disappoint. And so my next oath is to play Pulsar 2849. I have it on my visible, I'll say visible in inverted commas, shelf of shame. And so I need to play that. So that's what I'll be doing.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
So we've reached the end of the podcast. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll see you at the next one.
See you guys.
All right, see you later.
The other funny thing was to see someone put down, it's like, I always imagine Connor looked like Patrick Warburton.
I saw that. Seinfeld. Yeah, I saw that.
My friends love that. They're like, oh my God.
I got to say, with that video, Connor, I'm surprised we haven't been inundated by the Cryptozoology Society.
Viewing of Sasquatch. Yeah. We found him.
We finally have him on film.
Yeah. That's what we should have done. We should have made it real grainy and blurry.
Yeah. I was like, what the heck? What are they doing?
What are you doing?